Hey Patriots fans, we're back with an exclusive video on the latest updates on our beloved New England Patriots. Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. This way, you'll stay updated and never miss any breaking news or exclusive content. The first day of the 2025 NFL Draft has officially come to an end, and with it, a huge new chapter begins as Will Campbell officially joins the team. On Thursday night, the team made just one major move, using the 4th overall pick to bring in Campbell. For a lot of fans, this decision wasn't exactly shocking, especially considering how things unfolded with the selections right before. Travis Hunter going to the Jaguars with the 2nd pick turned a lot of heads, and Abdul Carter getting snagged by the Giants at number 3 only added to the surprises. Knowing that grabbing Will Campbell at 4 felt like a smart and necessary move rather than a flashy one. And honestly, when you look deeper, it was exactly what the team needed at this moment. Later on, I'll be sharing my overall grade for this first day and diving into some thoughts on what the team should focus on heading into the 2nd day of the draft. Because let's be real, this is a crucial moment. You can feel the intensity in the air. Tracking every move, every update is essential right now, especially considering that Will Campbell is projected to step right into the left tackle role this season. When I look at the bigger picture, I feel pretty good about this pick. Sure, there were other exciting options available, like Ashton Gentry, Armand McBain, Tyler Warren, and Mason Graham. But in the end, this was a pick about filling a major need, not necessarily making the flashiest move. That's why I'm giving it a solid B grade. Left tackle has been a problem area for the team for several years now. It's been a glaring hole that needed to be addressed, and honestly, this was the right draft class to do it. We just couldn't keep rolling the dice with players like Vidarian Law, hoping for miracles year after year. Now, with Campbell coming in, there's a real chance to develop a long-term answer at one of the most important positions on the field. Even though Campbell has spent some time playing left guard, he is clearly being lined up to take over that critical left tackle spot. Meanwhile, on the right side, the team has a more veteran presence and the center position is covered with decent talent. Left guard, however, still feels pretty unsettled. It looks like City might be competing with guys like Layden Robinson and Caden Wallace for that spot, but nothing's locked down yet. Even with those uncertainties, Campbell's ability to protect the quarterback's blind side is exactly why this pick makes so much sense. Could there have been a technically better player available? Maybe, but that wasn't the priority. The priority was shoring up the left tackle position, and Will Campbell gives the team a legitimate shot at finally doing that. I'm excited to see what he can do, especially under the guidance of solid coaching and while working alongside a young quarterback who's still developing his game. One thing I really want to point out is why I didn't give this pick an A grade, even though some others might have. It all comes down to Campbell's pass blocking evaluation. Across the board, the team needed a serious upgrade in pass protection, not just at left tackle, but all along the offensive line. Free agency helped a lot with run blocking. They brought in a bunch of good run blockers, but the pass protection still needed a boost. Campbell earned a pass blocking grade of 80, which, let's be clear, is outstanding, especially among this year's draft class. Yes, Armand McBain technically had a slightly higher evaluation, but when you look at the fact that Campbell only allowed 2 sacks during his entire college career, that's incredibly impressive. It does not matter what position you play. If you only give up 2 sacks, you're doing something right and you're going to be a huge asset to any offensive line. In fact, one well-respected NFL analyst had Campbell ranked as the 5th overall prospect in the entire draft, and even called him the best offensive tackle available ahead of Armand McBain. Sure, others might disagree and say McBain was the better choice, but a lot of those criticisms focus on things like arm length. And honestly, that's just not something I'll personally get hung up on. Is arm length important for an offensive tackle? Absolutely is part of the puzzle. But when you start the season and you're out there protecting the quarterback, nobody's going to be talking about how long your arms are if you're getting the job done. If Will Campbell goes out there in September and keeps Drake May upright, keeping the pressure off him, nobody's going to be nitpicking about his wingspan. Even if he gives up a sack or 2 here and there, the narrative is not going to be about arm length. It's going to be about the natural growing pains that come with being a rookie adjusting to the NFL level. Just think about it. Vidarian. Lowe has perfectly acceptable arm length for an NFL tackle, but that hasn't stopped him from struggling on the field. Arm length alone doesn't make you a great lineman. What matters more is your technique, your footwork, your toughness, and your ability to anticipate and counter what defensive linemen are trying to do. Campbell has shown that he has those traits. His 40-yard dash time was 4.98 seconds, which is fantastic for an offensive lineman. Just to put it into perspective, Armand Mebane ran in about 4.91. That shows you just how athletic these guys are. They're not just big bodies out there. They're explosive athletes who can move and react with the best of them. And speaking of reactions, one thing I absolutely loved about Campbell's draft night was the raw emotion he showed when he got the call. You could see it in his face. You could hear it in his voice. He genuinely wanted to be part of this team. That passion, that drive to represent New England and fight for this organization, that is something you just cannot teach. He's coming into a place that values toughness, discipline, and character, and he fits that mold perfectly. I honestly believe that mentality is going to make a massive difference for him as he adjusts to the pro level. One of the greats, a true icon of the sport, even said during the pre-draft process that he made it a point to visit with Will Campbell personally, just to see what the young man was all about. He wanted to challenge him, to understand how he would react under pressure and what he could bring to the team beyond just physical talent. Now, if a legend like that goes out of his way to size up a prospect, you better believe that's significant. If you think you know more about football than that icon, or if you think you could just waltz onto a field and beat Will Campbell one-on-one, you might want to check yourself, because you're probably wrong. Even I know my limits. I'm not stepping onto a field to face off against someone like Will Campbell. And if that coach sees something special in him, then I'm all in too. He's a high-level football player, and he's bringing exactly what the team needs at exactly the right time. That's why I'm confidently giving the pick a solid B grade. It wasn't the flashiest move, but it was the right move. It addressed a huge need with a player who has the right skills, the right mentality, and the right work ethic to succeed. Now, there's a lot more to break down as we look ahead to the second day of the draft. And I'm going to dive into what I think the team should focus on next. But before we get into that, I want to hear from you. What do you think about the selection of Will Campbell? Drop your draft grades down below. Give it an A, B, C, D, or even an F if you feel that strongly about it. I want to know your thoughts. We move into day 2 of the draft. It becomes even more crucial for the team to stay focused and strategic about their next moves. This is where teams really start to separate themselves, not just by landing the big-name stars in the first round, but by finding real value in the second and third rounds. For the Patriots, holding that 38th overall pick is an incredible opportunity to add another key piece to the roster. Personally, my mind immediately goes to Luther Burden III. If he's still available when the Patriots are on the clock, that's the guy I would absolutely jump on without hesitation. Burden is exactly the type of dynamic, explosive wide receiver that could completely transform the offense. His speed is electric, his catch radius is ridiculous, and his hands are about as dependable as you can ask for from a young receiver. You pair him with a young quarterback already in place, and suddenly this offense could start to look a lot more dangerous, a lot more quickly. Not only that, but adding a talent like Burden would open up so many possibilities for the offensive coordinator. With someone like Burden on the outside, you could move another talented receiver into the slot, create mismatches all over the field, and give the quarterback easy reads and quick options to beat opposing defenses. That's the kind of move that can immediately raise the ceiling of the offense and change the trajectory of the team. I really believe the Patriots need to prioritize a wide receiver at 38. Especially when you consider the injury concerns hanging over the current group. Depth is not a luxury anymore. It's an absolute necessity. Securing that with a second-round pick would show that the front office understands the urgency of the moment and is willing to put the quarterback in the best possible position to succeed. Now, beyond that 38th pick, the Patriots also have 2 selections coming up in the 3rd round. That's another massive advantage, giving them even more flexibility to address other important areas. After locking down a wide receiver, the next move should be targeting a running back. Getting a young, explosive back to complement what they already have could do wonders for balancing out the offense. Running backs like Trey Benson or Marshawn Lloyd could still be floating around by the time the 69th pick rolls around. And if either one of them is there, that would be an amazing grab. Both bring different styles to the table, but what they have in common is that ability to create explosive plays, to break tackles, and to give the offense that spark when it needs it most. And if for some reason the board doesn't fall the right way for a running back at 69, there's still the 77th pick. At that spot, the team could go in a few different directions depending on what their top priorities are. Adding another wide receiver wouldn't be a bad idea. Doubling up on weapons to completely retool the passing attack, or they could pivot. To defense, looking at safeties, edge rushers, or even another cornerback to continue shoring up the secondary. I love the idea of using the second and third rounds methodically, attacking one need after another rather than reaching or getting caught up in chasing names. The best teams in the league build their rosters this way, with smart, calculated decisions that fit their philosophy and support their young core players. At this point, the Patriots have 9 total picks in the draft, with 4 of those coming inside the top 100. That is a huge opportunity if managed correctly. And given how aggressive they were during free agency, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they have already filled some holes and created a little breathing room to be flexible with these picks. Offensive tackle was the glaring need coming into the draft, and they addressed it with Will Campbell. Now it's about surrounding the quarterback with weapons and making sure the offense can keep pace with the modern NFL. That means speed, that means explosiveness, and that means depth. You need guys who can create separation, who can stretch defenses vertically and horizontally, and who can turn short passes into big plays. Luther Burden III fits that mold perfectly. So do guys like Trey Harris and Jaden Higgins, who are also still on the board and could be strong fallback options if Burden is off the table by 38. The bottom line is that the team has to leave the second round with a playmaker, someone who can immediately step in and make life easier for their young quarterback. Beyond that, adding a strong running back or maybe one more defensive piece would make this draft class a real game changer for the Patriots. They already laid the foundation with Campbell. Now it's about building the rest of the house. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I truly believe that if the front office sticks to the plan, wide receiver at 38, running back at 69, best defensive player available at 77, they're going to come out of day 2 looking like one of the smartest organizations in the league. It's all about maximizing the picks they have and trusting the evaluations they have done throughout the entire process. So as we head into round 2, keep an eye on the wide receivers, keep an eye on the running backs, and maybe, just maybe, watch for a few surprise names to slip down the board. This is where the magic happens. Day 1 may grab the headlines, but day 2 is where championships are quietly built. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Christian Barmore, a key defensive player for the New England Patriots, has reportedly requested a trade from the team. The young defensive tackle, who has shown flashes of potential since being drafted in the second round of the 2021 NFL Draft, is now seeking a fresh start elsewhere. This decision comes as a surprise to many, especially given Barmore's promising start to his career and the Patriots' defensive struggles in recent seasons. Barmore's impact on the field has not gone unnoticed, despite playing for a Patriots team that has struggled to live up to its usual standards. Particularly on defense, Barmore has been a standout. Known for his ability to disrupt the pocket and his powerful presence against the run, he was expected to become a cornerstone of New England's defensive line. However, reports suggest that Barmore's request for a trade stems from dissatisfaction with his role within the team and perhaps a desire to play for a more competitive franchise. While Barmore's reasons for wanting to leave are still unclear, the Patriots organization will now face the challenge of dealing with a young, talented player who no longer seems invested in the team's future. The 23-year-old's trade request could signal the beginning of a shift in the Patriots' defensive strategy. one that might see them move away from their young core in favor of rebuilding or making a splash in free agency. The Patriots, historically, known for their strong defensive schemes, have seen a decline in recent years, with several key players leaving or underperforming. Barmore, despite his individual talent, has had limited success in helping to turn the tide for New England. With the franchise currently in a transition period, the team's next steps in addressing the defensive side of the ball will be crucial. And parting ways with a promising talent like Barmore could further complicate an already challenging situation. As for Barmore, the decision to leave New England could open up opportunities for him to join a team with a more established defense, or a better chance at contention. Several teams in need of a strong interior defensive presence could be interested in acquiring the 6'5", 310-pound lineman, who has shown the ability to be a game changer when fully utilized. This move is another chapter in the ongoing rebuilding process for the Patriots, and how the team responds to Barmore's trade request will be a significant factor in their future success. Fans and analysts alike will be watching closely to see how this situation develops and whether New England can continue to compete at a high level without one of their most promising young stars. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.